Cop City already becoming one of the most unpopular political dynamics in the city of Atlanta receives another PR blow. Why? Because according to The Intercept, police raided the homes of organizers who were posting bond for individuals arrested for civil disobedience. Let's put the pictures up. A heavily armed Atlanta Police Department SWAT team, along with the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, they raided a house in Atlanta and arrested 3 of the residents therein. Their crime, according to The Intercept, organizing legal support and bail funds for protesters and activists who have faced indiscriminate arrest and overreaching charges in the struggle to stop the construction of a vast police training facility dubbed Cop City. There's more. This was a joint operation, as I mentioned. Atlanta cops charged Marlon Scott Couts, Adele McLean, and Savannah Patterson. All of these individuals are board members of the Atlanta Solidarity Fund. They are now charged with money laundering and charity fraud. Let me say this, back in 2020, a man named Rashad Brooks was shot while running away from the police. It was at a Wendy's parking lot, created significant outrage. Protests happened all over the city. Well, people who were being arrested for civil disobedience, not violent crimes, but civil disobedience, they received bail money from the same group. Many of us coordinated with this group and other groups, including the NAACP, SCLC, activist organizations on the ground. This is part of the normative tradition, the process. There are some who are able to get out, go to jail. Then there are others who are able to utilize their resources to make sure they have a fair trial, to make sure they have a fair opportunity inside of the justice system to state their case. I remember attorneys who were giving out their cell phone numbers, writing it inside of the hands of the protesters so that when they got arrested, they could call those attorneys. I was on the ground, I was right there. This group does good work. I know that based on what happened in 2020 and how they were able to help so many individuals who did not have $20 to their name, but they cared enough to march for justice and change. Now they are arrested. The arrests are unprecedented. Unprecedented attack on bail funds and legal support organizations, a long-standing facet of social justice movements, according to Lauren Reagan, executive director of the Civil Liberties Defense Center. Quote, "This is the first bail fund to be attacked in this way." Reagan, whose organization has worked to ensure legal support for people resisting Cop City, told me, and this is from the author. And there is absolutely not a scintilla of fact or evidence that anything illegal has ever transpired with regard to Atlanta fundraising or bail support. Natasha Leonard did a remarkable job bringing down the various elements of the story. Now you will see permeations of the story that I'm presenting to you. They are typically short. Local news, they have these rules about making sure it's balanced with the other side. Well, in this case, they were struggling to find that other side because you cannot find another incident where something like this has happened. And when I tell you what is over, well, while the Atlanta Solidarity Fund has been a crucial resource for activists facing harsh repression for their involvement in Cop City, Stop Cop City movement, the nonprofit predates the movement and has been providing bail funds, jail support, and assistance with legal representation for Atlanta activists since 2020, since the 2020 Black Liberation Uprising. The fund, a project of the registered nonprofit group known as Network for Strong Communities, has also provided grants to support an array of anti-repression work in Atlanta, including to groups working with unhoused trans youth, Black worker-owned cooperatives, and abolitionists, community builders. Let me tell you what happens when one of these protests leads to mass incarceration. It's a messy ordeal. You have individuals wanting to help. They don't know who to send money to. And so there's a cash app you can send money to. Sometimes you have to go to the jail where the organizers are located, hand them cash to get people out. Attorneys are there, activists are there. It's organized chaos, but it's necessary to do what you must in order to get the funds to the jail, right? Anyone who has done this work, you know exactly how that part goes. There's more. In targeting the Atlanta Solidarity Fund, police and prosecutors are attempting to further the groundless narrative that the multifaceted movement against Cop City is a criminal organization enabling profoundly unconstitutional arrest based on no more than association with the resilient anti-racist environmentalist movement. Okay, that's according to The Intercept, according to the writer Natasha. Now, I'm going to give you what they actually are charged with and charged for, meaning the elements of the crime and then the charge itself connected to the elements. The charges, indeed, risk setting a dangerous precedent in criminalization, bail funds, and legal support networks. Bailing out protesters who exercise their constitutionally protected rights is simply not a crime. In fact, it is a historically grounded tradition, the very same social and political movements that the city of Atlanta prides itself on, said Reagan, the attorney, in a separate press statement. Someone had to bail out civil rights activists in the 60s. I think we can all agree that community support is not a crime. Harry Belafonte, okay? Harry Belafonte, during his years, he remained active, funding movements for justice, for peace. Others engaged in similar activity because of his leadership back then. Wednesday's arrests are just the latest in extreme law enforcement prosecution of the popular Stop Cop City movement. A total of 42 activists are currently facing state domestic terror charges on the flimsiest police claims, while 3 others face hefty felony intimidation charges for distributing flyers that named a police officer connected to the brutal police killing of 26-year-old Forest Defender Manuel Tarrant. Wednesday's arrest comes days after it was revealed by reporters that Atlanta officials have known for some time that the cost of building Cop City to the city of Atlanta would amount to at least $51 million in public funds instead of the $30 million they told us, the $30 million that the city promised back in 2021. Local opposition to the project has been strong, with hundreds of people attending a recent city council meeting to speak out against Cop City during a public hearing. The city council will vote on whether to approve the growing cost of the vast militarized police facility on June 5th, according to The Intercept. Let me say this for full transparency. A few weeks ago, I was appointed to the Cop City Task Force by the mayor of Atlanta. I like the mayor of Atlanta, I have a lot of respect for him. He's wrong on this, okay? I was appointed to that committee. I know the official name of the committee. I don't call it that because that's not what mama them called it. I will call it the Cop City Committee, all right? Given what has continued to happen, given the reality of this movement being rejected by those who live in the city, somebody needs to rip up this damn contract. Okay? Mama them in East Atlanta, where this facility is scheduled to be built, they don't want it. They don't want to hear helicopters while there's a mass shooting training. They don't want to see individuals come back and forth in militarized gear. This is not what they want for their community. Nobody posed the question to them. nobody got their opinion first. I've also said when I accepted the offer that my advocacy would be one way for the community that will be adversely affected. There is no changing my mind. There is no, can you look at it another way? No, unless you are able to convince the community that this is a good faith operation and that their voices are heard. You see, it's real simple. To all of those who are elected to council, this is not difficult, all right? Know who put you there. You're going against your own base. You have a base of progressive voters that voted many of you in, believing that you were different than the corporate agenda represented by those who came before you. This is the part that defines not only your political legacy, but it defines your soul. It's not too late to give the voice back to the community. You all don't own the city. The people do. All right, Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, this just epitomizes and demonstrates for all to see exactly why people are protesting this cop city in Atlanta. This is confirming people's worst fears. If people are worried about fascism, for instance, they should be worried about police forces because a fascist leader is only as strong as the soldiers they have working under them. Whenever you see populist protests being broken up, whether that's here in the United States or abroad, who are the people breaking up those protests? There's a reason why a dictator can't seize power without first winning the support of the military and or the police forces. Those guys, they're the ones on the ground who are doing the dirty work. They're the ones confronting the people. Those cops, I guarantee you, will tell you that they took those jobs because they wanted to serve their communities. Every cop I've ever spoken to, that's the reason that they say why they got into the police force. And many of them probably do believe that. They believe that breaking up protests is part of that commitment by protecting property and protecting businesses, et cetera. But it's too often that we see police officers acting directly and sometimes violently against members of their own communities. And I can only assume that they do it because, politics aside, maybe they think that in the ensuing power struggle between people and government, maybe they'll be on the winning side.
Yeah, we shall see. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come.